I blew up at my stepsister at her comments about my weight loss. I've been overweight my entire life, like the kind of fat where people stare at you in grocery stores and kids whisper. Last year, I finally decided enough was enough and started working with a trainer and nutritionist. I've lost 85 pounds so far and still have about 20 to go, but I actually feel human for the first time in years. My dad remarried when I was 16 to this woman, Carol, who had a daughter my age named Madison. Madison was always the golden child. Perfect body, perfect grades, captain of the dance team, dated the quarterback. Meanwhile, I was eating lunch in empty classrooms just to avoid the cafeteria stares and comments about my weight. Madison never said anything directly cruel growing up, but she had this way of making these little cutting remarks that destroyed me. Like when I'd go for seconds at family dinners, she'd say, "Oh, wow, still hungry?" with this fake, concerned voice. Or if I wore something new, she'd be like, "That's such a brave choice," with this condescending smile, like she was being helpful. When I started losing weight last year, she didn't say much at first, but as the pounds kept melting off and people started noticing, I could see it bothered her. Suddenly, she wasn't the only one getting compliments at family gatherings anymore. Relatives would go on and on about how amazing I looked and how proud they were of my transformation. Last weekend was my dad's 50th birthday party at their house. I wore this navy blue dress I'd been saving for when I hit my goal weight, but decided to wear early because I was feeling so confident. It was a size 12. Might not sound small to some people, but it was the smallest size I'd worn since middle school. I walked into the party and immediately got bombarded with compliments. My aunt literally gasped and said I looked incredible. My cousin asked what my secret was and if I had any tips. Even some of Carol's friends were asking about my workout routine and meal plan. That's when Madison walked over wearing her usual crop top and miniskirt combo, clearly expecting to steal the spotlight like she always does. She had this fake sweet smile plastered on her face as she looked me up and down slowly, making sure everyone was watching. Then she said loud enough for the entire room to hear, "Oh my God, you've lost so much weight. You look so much better now. I mean, you're still pretty chunky and have a long way to go, but at least now you look like normal fat instead of scary fat. Good for you for finally doing something about it." The entire room went dead silent. I felt my face burning with embarrassment and rage. This girl had spent years making subtle digs about my weight, making me feel like garbage about my body. And now, when I was finally making progress and feeling genuinely good about myself for the first time in years, she couldn't even let me have that moment. Something inside me just completely snapped. All those years of built-up anger and resentment came flooding out at once. I looked her dead in the eye and said, "You know what, Madison? I can lose more weight, but you'll always be an ugly person on the inside, and there's no gym membership that fixes that." But I didn't stop there. Years of suppressed rage just poured out of me. I told her how pathetic it was that she felt so threatened by me finally getting healthy that she had to try to tear me down in front of everyone. How sad her life must be that she needed to put other people down just to feel good about herself. I said everyone in that room could see exactly what kind of person she really was. Shallow, insecure, and mean. That she peaked in high school with her little dance team captain title and would spend the rest of her life desperately trying to recapture that moment because she had absolutely nothing else going for her. Carol defended Madison, but my dad walked to the kitchen and returned with a journal, hands shaking. He opened it. Day 47, she ate pasta. I purged twice. Day 52, she wore a size 14, 6 laxatives. Every entry tracked what I ate, what I wore, what size I was. The final entry, day 103, she's almost as small as me. Haven't eaten solid food in 6 days. Won't stop until I'm smallest. My dad looked at Madison. "When did you last eat?" Madison smiled, genuine, relieved. "The same day she started losing weight. I needed someone to compete with." She stepped toward me. "But she's not supposed to be winning." She grabbed my plate and threw it against the wall. Then she grabbed the knife from the birthday cake. My dad moved faster than I'd ever seen him move in my entire life. He literally lunged across the dining table, knocking over the centerpiece and 3 champagne glasses, and wrestled that knife right out of Madison's hand. It clattered to the hardwood floor with this loud metallic sound that echoed through the whole house, and Madison just collapsed. Like someone literally cut her strings. She went down right there in the middle of the dining room and started screaming, this horrible wailing sound that honestly didn't even sound human. It sounded like an animal caught in a trap. "I haven't eaten solid food in 6 months!" she shrieked, her voice cracking. 6 months! Do you people have any idea what that's like? Do you? My aunt covered her mouth with her hand. My cousin just stood there frozen. Carol rushed over to Madison, but honestly, what was she supposed to do? Madison was on her hands and knees now, and before anyone could stop her, she started crawling toward the birthday cake that had fallen onto the floor when she threw my plate. She grabbed it with both hands, just fistfuls of cake and frosting, and started shoving it into her mouth. Frosting smeared all across her face, getting in her hair, cake crumbling down the front of her crop top. She was sobbing the entire time, making these horrible choking sounds while she ate, like she couldn't breathe but couldn't stop eating either. Then, just as suddenly as she'd started, she stopped. Her whole face went pale, like actually gray. She scrambled to her feet, stumbling a little, and ran for the bathroom. We all heard it, the violent retching, the horrible sounds echoing through the entire house. Nobody moved. Nobody said a single word. It was like everyone was frozen in this nightmare moment and didn't know how to break out of it. Carol finally moved, walking quickly to the bathroom door and trying the handle. "Madison, honey, please let me in," she called out, her voice shaking. "Go away," Madison screamed from inside. "Just leave me the hell alone." My dad's hands were trembling as he pulled out his phone. "I'm calling 911, he said, His voice was barely steady. "Don't you dare!" Carol snapped at him, whipping around. "She's fine, Robert. She's just upset. This is a family matter." "She's not fine, Carol. Jesus Christ, look at this." He held up the journal, flipping through pages with shaking fingers. "She's been tracking everything for months. Every single thing she eats. Everything our daughter eats. She's sick. She needs help." "Don't you dare tell me what my daughter needs," Carol said, her face flushing red. But my dad was already on the phone with 911. I heard him giving the address, explaining the situation in this weird, calm voice that didn't match his face at all. The dispatcher kept asking questions and he kept answering them while Carol just glared at him. The paramedics got there maybe 10, 15 minutes later. By then, Madison had finally come out of the bathroom. She was sitting on the couch in the living room, staring at absolutely nothing. Her eyes were just empty. She looked so small sitting there, like she'd shrunk into herself. When the paramedics came in and tried to check her vitals, I saw her wrist when they took her pulse. It looked like a child's wrist, like literally a 10-year-old's wrist, all bone and thin skin. The paramedic, this older guy with gray hair and kind eyes, kept frowning at the heart monitor they'd attached to her finger. He looked at his partner, this younger woman, and they had this whole silent conversation with their eyes. "Her heart rate's all over the place," he said quietly to Carol, trying to keep his voice down, but I heard it anyway. "We need to transport her to the ER. Her electrolytes are probably completely out of balance from purging." "That's really dangerous, ma'am." "I'll drive her myself," Carol said. "Ma'am, with all due respect, this is a medical emergency. She needs to be monitored during transport." Carol opened her mouth to argue, but my dad put his hand on her shoulder. "Let them take her, Carol, please." So they loaded Madison into the ambulance. Carol rode with her and my dad followed in his car. He told me to go home, that he'd call me later, but I couldn't just leave, so I followed too. At the hospital, they took Madison straight back. No waiting, no triage, nothing. They just wheeled her through those double doors and she was gone. Carol went back with her and my dad and I sat in the waiting room. The chairs were those uncomfortable plastic ones that squeak when you shift your weight. My dad still had that journal in his hands. He kept staring at it like he couldn't quite believe it was real. "I didn't know," he said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. "I swear to God, I didn't know it was this bad." "How could you not know?" I asked. I wasn't trying to be mean. I genuinely wanted to understand. "Look at her, Dad. She's disappearing. She looks like she weighs maybe 90 pounds. He didn't have an answer for that. He just sat there turning pages in that journal, reading entry after entry about what I ate, what size clothes I wore, how many times Madison had purged that day. A psychiatrist came out maybe 2 hours later. She was looking for Madison's parents, and when Carol came out from the back, they talked in the corner of the waiting room. I couldn't hear everything, but I heard enough. Words like residential treatment and eating disorder facility and immediate admission. Carol's voice kept getting louder and louder until finally she just said, "No, absolutely not. That's not happening." The psychiatrist, this woman maybe in her early 40s with kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a bun, looked exhausted. "Mrs. Patterson, I need you to understand the severity of the situation. Your daughter will die if she doesn't get intensive treatment. We're not talking months or even weeks. Her organs are already showing signs of stress. Her heart rate is dangerously irregular. She needs specialized care that you cannot provide at home. She doesn't need to be locked up somewhere like some kind of crazy person," Carol said, her voice shaking. "She just needs to eat. I'll make sure she eats at home. I'll watch her." "That's not how eating disorders work." I said no. "I'm not signing anything." Carol cut her off. "We're done with this conversation." The psychiatrist looked like she wanted to say more, but legally she couldn't force an adult patient into treatment without their consent or a court order. She handed Carol some papers, probably information about outpatient options, and walked away looking defeated. Carol turned and walked straight over to me. My dad stood up, like he could sense something bad was about to happen. Carol got right in my face. So close I could smell her perfume mixed with the hospital smell of antiseptic and stress. "If you had just stayed fat, none of this would have happened," she said, her voice low and venomous. "She was fine before you decided to show off, before you had to make everything about you and your weight loss. You couldn't just let her have something." I just stared at her. "Are you actually serious right now?" "She's in there hooked up to machines because of you," Carol hissed. "Because you had to lose weight and parade around getting all the attention. You couldn't stand that she was the pretty one, could you? You had to try to compete with her." My dad put his hand on Carol's shoulder. "That's enough, Carol." She shook him off violently. "Don't touch me. Your daughter did this." Then she turned and walked back through the double doors to Madison's room. My dad looked at me with this helpless expression. "She doesn't mean that," he said, but he didn't sound convinced. "She's just scared and looking for someone to blame." "She means it," I said. "And honestly, Dad, I think part of you agrees with her." "That's not fair, isn't it?" I grabbed my purse. "I'm going home. Call me when Madison's released or whatever." I went home that night, but I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what Carol said. I kept wondering if maybe, somehow, this was my fault. If I should have just stayed fat and miserable so Madison wouldn't feel threatened. Which is insane, right? But that's what happens when someone blames you for their kid trying to starve herself to death. It gets into your head and makes you question everything. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling until the sun came up. My phone buzzed around 8 in the morning. Text from my dad. "Madison's being discharged today. Carol refused residential treatment. They're sending her home with outpatient referrals. Can you come over tomorrow? I think you two need to talk." I didn't want to go. Every part of me wanted to text back no and block everyone's number and just disappear. But I texted back okay because I'm apparently a glutton for punishment. The next day I drove to their house. Carol answered the door and didn't say a single word to me. just opened it, looked at me like I was something she'd scraped off her shoe, and walked away. I went upstairs to Madison's room and knocked. "It's open," she said. Her voice sounded weak, raspy. I pushed open the door, and there she was, sitting on her bed in an oversized sweatshirt and leggings. She'd lost more weight, visibly more. Even in the baggy clothes, I could see how thin she was. Her collarbone stuck out so sharply it looked painful. Her face was all hollow cheeks and sunken eyes. She looked like someone actively dying. "Hey," I said, because what else do you say? "Hey." She didn't look at me. She was staring at her phone. I sat down in her desk chair, and that's when I noticed something. Her closet door was open a crack, and I could see journals on the shelf, lots of them, way more than just the one my dad had found. "How many of those do you have?" I asked, nodding toward the closet. Madison finally looked up at me. "Why?" "Just curious, I guess," she shrugged. "3. Well, 4 now." Something about the way she said 4 now with this little smile made my stomach turn. We made awkward conversation for maybe 10 more minutes. She asked how I was. I asked how she was feeling. She said fine. I said that was good. It was the most uncomfortable conversation of my life. Finally, I made an excuse about needing to get to work and left. But I couldn't stop thinking about those journals, about that little smile when she said 4 now. The next day, I checked Madison's Instagram. She'd posted that she had a doctor's appointment. Carol had commented something supportive. I knew Carol would drive her and my dad would be at work, so I went back to the house. I still had my key. I let myself in, listened to make sure the house was empty, and went straight to Madison's room. The 3 journals my dad had found were on her desk, stacked neatly, but I went to the closet. I moved shoeboxes and old purses, and there it was. A 4th journal, hidden in the very back under a pile of old dance team t-shirts. I pulled it out. The cover was black and it just said evidence in silver Sharpie. I sat down on her floor and opened it. The first page made my blood run cold. It was a screenshot, printed out in color. An Instagram comment on one of my progress photos. "You look amazing." Such an inspiration. Next page, another screenshot. "Wow, drop the workout routine." Page after page of printed screenshots. Every single compliment I'd gotten about my weight loss over the past year was in there. Hundreds of them. Then the receipts started. Printed emails from my gym confirming my membership. Receipts from my nutritionist's office with dates and times. She'd somehow gotten into my email. I have no idea how, but she had screenshots of everything. Then came the photos. Pictures of me eating at restaurants taken from a distance like she'd been following me. Me at the grocery store. Me at the gym through the window. Me walking my neighbor's dog. Every photo was dated and time-stamped in her handwriting. Next to some of them, she'd written notes. Size 14 jeans. Had dessert, didn't care. Looked happy. I kept flipping through, my hands shaking. There were printed screenshots of my fitness app showing my workouts. Screenshots of text conversations I'd had with friends about meal prep. She'd been tracking literally everything about my life for months. The last page just said, in her handwriting, "When I'm gone, they'll know who really killed me." I sat there on Madison's floor with that journal in my lap, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. This wasn't about competing anymore. This wasn't about her wanting to be thinner than me. She was building a case. She was collecting evidence to blame me when she finally killed herself, and she'd been planning it for months. I took the journal and got in my car. I drove straight to my dad's office. He was in a meeting, but I didn't care. I walked right past his assistant and into his office and put that journal on his desk. "You need to read this," I said. "Right now." He excused himself from the Zoom call and picked up the journal. I watched his face change as he flipped through the pages. His jaw got tight. His eyes got watery. When he got to the last page, he just sat there staring at it for what felt like forever. "She's planning to kill herself," I said. My voice sounded weird, too high. "And she's going to make it look like it's my fault. She's been collecting evidence for months, Dad. This is premeditated." My dad closed the journal slowly. He rubbed his face with both hands, and when he looked at me, he looked about 20 years older than he had that morning. Then he said the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life. "Maybe you should gain some weight back, just until she stabilizes." I stared at him. "What did you just say?" "Just temporarily," he said quickly, like that made it better. "Just so she doesn't feel like she's competing anymore, just until we can get her to agree to treatment." "You want me to get fat again so Madison stops trying to kill herself? That's your solution to this?" "I'm not saying get fat. I'm just saying maybe ease off the gym for a while, eat a little more, stop posting about your weight loss on social media." "No," I stood up. "Absolutely not. This is insane, Dad. She needs professional help, real help, not me sacrificing my health and happiness to make her feel better about her eating disorder." "She won't accept help," he said, his voice rising. "Carol won't force her and Madison won't go willingly. What am I supposed to do, just watch her die?" "Figure it out," I said. "But I'm not doing this. I'm not gaining weight. I'm not stopping my workouts. I'm not changing my life to enable her mental illness. That's not what I'm asking." "That's exactly what you're asking." I grabbed my purse. "I'm your daughter too, Dad. Or did you forget that?" I walked out of his office and left the journal on his desk. I got in my car and just sat there for a minute, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My own father would rather I go back to being miserable and unhealthy than deal with Madison's sickness. He'd rather I sacrifice myself than confront what was really happening. Madison came home from the hospital after 3 days of cardiac monitoring. My dad called to let me know. I didn't go over. I couldn't handle seeing Carol again, hearing her blame me, watching my dad do nothing about it. But a week later, my dad called again. "Please come to dinner," he said. "Carol wants to try to fix this, to move forward as a family." I should have said no. Every instinct told me to say no. But I said yes because I'm an idiot who still wants her dad's approval, apparently. I showed up at 6. Madison was already at the table. She looked even worse than she had a week ago. I found out later she'd lost 12 more pounds. 12 pounds in a week. She was wearing a hoodie that literally hung off her like a tent. Her face was skeletal. Her eyes were sunken so deep they looked like holes in her head. Dinner was horrible. No one talked. Carol kept watching Madison like a hawk, and Madison pushed food around her plate but didn't eat a single bite. After maybe 20 minutes, Madison got up from the table without saying anything and walked to the garage. I could see her through the kitchen window. She started doing jumping jacks, then lunges, then burpees, just going through exercises like a robot. "She's been doing that every day," my dad said quietly, "for hours. I've tried to stop her, but she won't listen." I watched her through the window. She did jumping jacks until she stumbled and had to catch herself on the wall. Then she bent over and threw up, just a little bit of bile probably, since she hadn't eaten anything. She wiped her mouth with the back of her hand and started doing jumping jacks again. "Oh my God," I said. "She's going to kill herself out there." Carol stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "Stop being so dramatic, she's just working out. You should understand that better than anyone, right? Isn't that what you do? Exercise constantly?" She just threw up and kept going. "That's not working out, Carol, that's self-harm." "You would know all about self-harm, wouldn't you?" Carol said, her voice dripping with venom. "Considering you're the reason she's like this in the first place." I got up and walked out to the garage. Madison stopped when she saw me. She was drenched in sweat, shaking all over. Her hair was plastered to her head. "What do you want?" she asked between gasping breaths. "You need to stop. You're going to hurt yourself." She smiled. It was the creepiest thing I'd ever seen, like a skull smiling. "Don't touch me," she said. "I'm documenting everything you do." "What are you talking about?" She pulled her phone out of her hoodie pocket and held it up. The screen showed she'd been recording. A little red timer in the corner showed she'd been recording for over 30 minutes. "I've got hours of footage," she said, still smiling that horrible smile. "Every time you comment on my body, every time you try to control what I do, every conversation, I'm keeping track of all of it. Madison, I'm trying to help you." "No, you're not. You're trying to make yourself feel better. You want to be the hero of this story. But when I'm gone, everyone's going to see what you really are. They're going to see all of this." She waved the phone at me. "And they're going to know you drove me to it." She started doing jumping jacks again, still holding her phone so it kept recording me standing there. I just stood there for a few seconds, watching her, and then I turned around and went back inside. My dad was standing in the doorway between the kitchen and garage. "She's recording me," I told him. "She thinks I'm the villain in all of this." He didn't say anything. He just looked tired and old and defeated. I went home that night and I didn't sleep at all. I kept thinking about what Madison said. When I'm gone, not if I die or if something happens. When. Like she'd already decided it was going to happen. Like it was just a matter of time. The next few days were a blur of anxiety and insomnia. I tried to go to the gym, but I couldn't focus. I tried to work, but I couldn't concentrate. Every time I ate something, I thought about Madison not eating. Every time I looked in the mirror, I thought about her getting thinner and thinner. It was like she'd crawled into my brain and set up camp. I realized I couldn't live like this anymore. I couldn't live in the same town as her, not with her stalking me and recording me and building this case against me for when she finally killed herself. So I started looking for apartments in other areas. Found one about 40 minutes away, gave notice at my current place, and moved out within 2 weeks. I didn't tell Madison. I didn't tell Carol. I only told my dad, and I made him promise not to say anything. For about a week after I moved, it was better. I could breathe again. I started sleeping through the night. I got back into my gym routine without feeling guilty. I thought maybe I'd actually escaped. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon, I looked out my apartment window and saw her car, Madison's silver Honda Civic, parked across the street from my building. I could see her sitting in the driver's seat just staring up at my window. I stood there watching her watch me for maybe 5 minutes. Then I closed the blinds. When I checked again an hour later, she was still there. She stayed for 3 hours that first day before driving away. The next day, she came back. Same parking spot, stayed for 4 hours. The day after that, 5 hours. And every time I saw her, she looked thinner. She'd gone from regular adult clothes to kids' clothes. I saw her at the gas station near my apartment once, filling up her car, and she was wearing what had to be a girl's size 12 hoodie. It hung off her like she was a child playing dress-up in adult clothes. Her legs and her leggings looked like sticks. People at the gas station stared at her. Some looked horrified. Some looked disgusted. But she didn't seem to notice or care. She started posting on Instagram constantly. Photos of herself getting more and more skeletal. You could see every bone in her chest. Her face looked like something from a horror movie. And the captions were always these vague, pointed messages. Some people's happiness requires others' destruction. When family becomes toxic, sometimes the only option is to let go. The people who hurt you the most are often the ones who claim to love you. And every single post tagged my location, my new apartment. So anyone who followed her knew exactly where I lived. The comments on her posts were full of support. "Stay strong. You deserve better. Cut toxic people out of your life." Nobody seemed to realize she was literally dying. Or maybe they didn't care. Maybe they thought she was just thin. I called the police on day 5 of her showing up at my apartment. told them someone was stalking me. They drove by, saw her parked there, and went to talk to her. Through my window, I watched the whole thing. She showed them her phone, probably explained she was just sitting in a public place. They talked for maybe 10 minutes. Then they came up to talk to me. "Ma'am, she says she's your sister, and she's just making sure you're okay," the officer said. He was young, maybe late 20s. "She's parked on a public street. She's not on your property. Unless she threatens you or tries to contact you, there's not really anything we can do." "She's stalking me," I said. "Has she tried to talk to you? Sent you messages?" "No, but then legally, she's just sitting in her car on a public street. I understand this is uncomfortable, but our hands are tied unless she escalates." They left, and Madison's car was still there. She stayed another 2 hours and then drove away. I felt like I was going crazy, like I was trapped in this nightmare and nobody could see it but me. So I called my insurance's crisis line and got connected to a counselor. I explained everything: the eating disorder, the journals, the recording, the stalking, the Instagram posts, all of it. The counselor listened patiently and then said basically what the police had said. Without her seeking help voluntarily or being an immediate danger to herself, there's nothing anyone can legally do. And since she's over 18, even her parents can't force her into treatment without a court order. "So I'm just supposed to wait until she dies?" I asked. "That's the advice?" There was a long pause. "I'm so sorry. I know that's not what you want to hear. My suggestion would be to document everything, keep a record of her behavior, and if she does make any direct threats, call the police immediately. But right now, legally, your hands are tied." I hung up and sat in my apartment staring at the wall. Madison had me trapped. If she died, everyone would blame me. Her journals, her recordings, her Instagram posts had already painted me as the villain. Her followers would destroy me online, maybe in real life too. And if she lived, this would just keep going. The stalking, the accusations, the blame, maybe forever, maybe until I gave up and moved across the country, or maybe until I gave up entirely. A week and a half after I'd moved to the new apartment, Madison showed up at my door. I looked through the peephole and almost had a heart attack. She was so thin that her bones were visible through her skin. Her face literally looked like a skull with skin stretched over it. Her eyes were sunken so deep they looked black. She knocked on my door with these weak little taps like she barely had the strength to lift her hand. I should have called 911 right then. I should have refused to open the door, but I opened it anyway. I don't know why. Maybe I thought I could reason with her. Maybe I just wanted it to be over one way or another. "I need help," she whispered. Her voice was so hoarse it barely sounded like her. "I need to get to the hospital. I can't walk, please." "Then call 911, I said. "I don't have my phone." She swayed a little like she might fall over. "Please, just drive me. I think I'm dying." Every instinct told me to call 911 myself and let the paramedics handle it. But she looked so pathetic standing there so close to death that I just helped her to my car. She leaned against me, all bones and no weight, and I practically carried her down the stairs. She leaned against the passenger window the whole drive, barely conscious. Her breathing was shallow and raspy. I kept glancing at her, terrified she was going to die right there in my car. What would I do then? Pull over and do CPR? Just keep driving to the hospital with a corpse in my passenger seat? We were maybe 3 minutes from the hospital when she suddenly grabbed her phone from her pocket. I hadn't even realized she had it. She'd lied about that. She propped it up against the dashboard and started recording. "I had to beg the person who caused this for help," she said into the camera. Her voice was weak but clear enough. "I'm at rock bottom, and I had to beg her to drive me to the hospital. This is what it's come to. This is what she's done to me." I stared at her. "Are you fucking kidding me right now?" She kept recording. "She's mad at me for asking for help. Even now. Even when I'm dying." She posted it before we even pulled into the hospital parking lot. I saw the little notification pop up. Instagram. Post shared. I helped her into the ER and the staff took her immediately. They didn't even make her wait or do triage. They just saw her and rushed her back. That's how bad she looked. They got her into a bed and nurses swarmed around her, hooking her up to monitors, starting IVs. I sat in the waiting room because I didn't know what else to do. About an hour later, a doctor came out asking for Madison's family. I told him I was her stepsister. He said he really needed to speak to her parents, but he'd give me the basics. Her organs were failing. Multiple organ systems. Heart, kidneys, liver. All of it was shutting down. She needed intensive medical intervention immediately. Feeding tube, IV nutrition, cardiac monitoring. She was maybe days away from complete system failure. "How long has she been like this?" he asked. "Months?" I said. "Maybe 6 months?" He shook his head. "I'm honestly surprised she's still alive." I called Carol and my dad. They showed up maybe 30 minutes later. Carol didn't even look at me. They went back to talk to the doctors. When they came out maybe an hour later, Carol's face was red and puffy from crying. My dad pulled me aside in the waiting room. "They want to put in a feeding tube," he said quietly. "They say it's the only way to save her life at this point." "Okay," I said. "So do it." "Madison's refusing. She says she'll only accept treatment if you publicly take accountability for your role in this." I laughed. Actually laughed. "My role? I didn't do anything?" "I know that," he said, but he didn't sound convinced. Like at all. "But she's saying she won't accept the feeding tube unless you post an apology. Carol's begging you. Just post something on social media. An apology. Say you didn't realize how your weight loss affected her. Say you're sorry for the pain you caused. Something. Anything. So she'll let them treat her. She's manipulating all of you," I said. "This is literally emotional blackmail. She's using her life as leverage." "She's dying," Carol said, walking over. Her voice was cold and flat. "She is actively dying right now, and you're worried about your pride. Just apologize. Publicly. Tell everyone you're sorry for what you did to her. That's all she wants. That's all she's asking for. I looked at both of them. My dad looked desperate and broken. Carol looked furious and determined. And I realized something horrible. They genuinely believed this was my fault. They actually thought I owed Madison this apology, that I was the villain and Madison was the victim, and if I would just humble myself publicly, everything would be fine. No, I said. She'll die, Carol said flatly. Then she'll die, I said, and I hated myself for saying it, but I said it anyway. But I'm not apologizing for getting healthy. I'm not taking the blame for her eating disorder. I'm not doing it. Carol's face twisted into something ugly. You're a monster. You know that? An actual monster. I left the hospital. I went home. I sat on my couch for maybe an hour just staring at nothing. Then I made a decision. I went to my computer and I started uploading everything. Photos of every page of all 4 journals. Screenshots of the recordings Madison had made where you could clearly see she'd edited them to make me sound bad. Screenshots of every Instagram post she'd made with my location tagged. I wrote out the whole story, from the birthday party to the stalking to the hospital. I didn't leave anything out. I ended with, this is the truth. Madison has been destroying herself to destroy me. She has been stalking me, recording me, and building a case to blame me for her death. I will not apologize for getting healthy. I will not take responsibility for her choices. I will not be held hostage by her illness. This is the truth, and I'm done hiding it. I posted it everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, every platform I had. And then I waited. The post exploded. Within an hour, I had hundreds of comments. But they weren't all supportive. Maybe half the people said I was right to expose her, that Madison was clearly manipulative and abusive, that I shouldn't be blamed for her eating disorder. The other half called me cruel, said I was attacking someone who was mentally ill and vulnerable, said I was exposing her at her most vulnerable moment for my own ego. Some people said I was literally posting it to kill her, that I wanted her to die so I could play the victim and get sympathy. The comments got vicious on both sides. People were fighting in the replies. Some people were doxing each other. It was absolute chaos. I turned off my phone and went to bed. I didn't sleep, but at least I didn't have to read the comments anymore. The next morning, my dad called. I almost didn't answer, but I did. He told me Madison had accepted the feeding tube. She'd seen my post and apparently it had changed something. Maybe she realized people could see through her manipulation. Maybe she just didn't want to die after all. I don't know, but she'd agreed to treatment. I felt this weird mix of relief and horror. Relief that she wasn't going to die. Horror that I'd had to publicly burn everything down to make that happen. But then, 2 days later, Carol sent me a text message. She tried to hang herself with her IV tube. This is your fault. I hope you're satisfied. Madison had been put on psychiatric hold. She told her treatment team that my public attack had made her suicidal, that seeing all her private journals exposed online had destroyed her will to live. The hospital had moved her to the psych ward and added another 72 hours to her hold. I didn't respond to Carol's message. What was there to say? Madison had tried to kill herself and was still using it to blame me. It was exactly what she'd always planned. A few days later, I got a call from the hospital. Not Carol, not my dad, the hospital directly. They asked me to come in for a meeting with Madison's treatment team. I almost said no, but something made me agree. When I got there, they brought me to a small conference room. The psychiatrist, a social worker, and a patient advocate were all there. Madison wasn't. We've reviewed the materials you posted online, the psychiatrist said. She was the same woman from before, the one with kind eyes. The journals, the recordings, the evidence book. Okay, I said. We need to be honest with you. Madison has been demonstrating what we call manipulative suicidal ideation. She's using threats of self-harm as a form of control and punishment directed at you specifically. The IV tube incident wasn't a serious attempt. It was a gesture meant to punish you and prove her narrative. That said, she's also medically critical. The eating disorder is real and life-threatening, even if her motivations are complex. So what does that mean? I asked. What happens now? It means we're transferring her to a locked residential facility that specializes in eating disorders with psychiatric comorbidity. She'll be there for a minimum of 90 days. No visitors allowed, no phone access, no internet. It's a complete therapeutic environment designed to break unhealthy patterns and rebuild healthy ones. I felt something loosen in my chest, like I'd been holding my breath for months and could finally exhale. Okay, good. Before she goes, the social worker said, a younger woman with glasses and a sympathetic face. She's asked to make one phone call. She's allowed one supervised call before she's transferred. She's asked to call you. I looked at all 3 of them. Why would she want to call me? The social worker looked uncomfortable. She says she wants to apologize, to make amends before she goes into treatment. I didn't believe that for even a second, but I agreed anyway because I wanted to hear what she'd say, what angle she was working now. They brought me to a private room with just a phone on a table. It rang. I picked up. Hey, Madison said. Her voice sounded stronger than it had in weeks. The feeding tube was working. They were getting nutrition into her. Hey, I said. I wanted to tell you something before I go to this place, she said. No preamble, no small talk. Okay, you think you exposed me. You think you proved something by posting all that stuff online. You think you won. But you know what you actually did? You just proved my point. You proved what I've been saying all along. You care more about being right than keeping me alive. Everyone saw that. Everyone knows now what kind of person you really are. You posted my private journals on the internet when I was dying in a hospital bed. You exposed my eating disorder to the whole world for your own vindication. I didn't say anything. There was no point. I'm going to get better, she continued. I'm going to recover. I'm going to gain the weight back and get healthy and move on with my life. And when I do, everyone's going to remember what you did to me at my lowest. You posted my journals online when I was dying. You called me manipulative when I was sick. You exposed my eating disorder to thousands of people. You'll never escape that. People will always remember. I'll be the girl who survived, who got better despite her toxic stepsister. And you'll always be the girl who tried to destroy me when I was at my most vulnerable. You'll never escape what you did. Are you done? I asked. See you soon, sis. She hung up. I sat there for a minute staring at the phone. Then I left the hospital and went home. I tried to go back to normal life, but everything felt different now. The comments on my posts kept coming for days. Some people were on my side, some weren't, but everyone had an opinion. Everyone felt entitled to tell me what I should have done, how I should have handled it, whether I was a hero or a monster. I ended up deleting all my social media accounts. Just deleted everything and disappeared from the internet entirely. 3 months went by. I got a new job at a different company, started seeing a therapist twice a week to deal with everything that had happened, tried to build a life that didn't revolve around Madison and her illness and her blame, and slowly, gradually, things started to feel a little bit normal again. Then I came home from work on a Tuesday and found a package outside my apartment door. No return address. Just my name and address written in handwriting I didn't recognize. I brought it inside and sat on my couch with it. Part of me didn't want to open it. I knew somehow that it was from Madison, that she'd found a way to reach out even from residential treatment. But I opened it anyway. Inside was a printed copy of Madison's discharge summary from the residential treatment facility. I read through it. Weight restored to healthy BMI, medically stable, completed full 90-day program, cleared for outpatient care, recommended for continued therapy and nutritional counseling. Prognosis: good. Underneath the discharge papers was a handwritten note on fancy cream-colored stationery, Madison's handwriting. I'm better now. Funny thing about recovery, you learn to forgive yourself. I've forgiven myself for everything. For the journals, for the stalking, for the recordings. I've learned that I was sick, and I did what I had to do to survive. I forgive myself completely, but I'll never forgive you. See you soon, sis. I stared at that note for a long time, read it over and over, and I realized something that made my entire body go cold. Madison hadn't recovered. Not really. She'd gained the weight back because she had to. She'd completed the program because it was required. She'd learned the language of recovery, how to say the right things to doctors and therapists. But nothing inside had changed. She was still the same person who'd built an evidence book to frame me for her death, who'd stalked me for months, who'd recorded our every interaction, who'd spent half a year starving herself just to punish me for getting healthy.